So we're quick to jump into the application and the process instead of actually understanding why or putting our minds in the correct place. First thing to understand is, which most people I can get to, a lot of people have a hard time getting to, is that posture can indeed eliminate a lot of the problems you're struggling with in your body and your pain and your biomechanics. Second problem is erasing what you've taught yourself to do all your life, because if you're just applying what you deem as good posture, I don't think for a second that people are just being lazy all the time, and that's why they're in pain. They it's like, oh, I must not have been being as vigilant as I should, so they become hyper vigilant in all the wrong ways and actually get worse half the time. And what we're dealing here, what we're battling mainly is a compression state of the spine. Instead of actually opening up and lengthening all these joints, we're taking them and we're sandwiching them down, we're compressing them. So anytime we have a type of injury, or like let's say we have a sprained joint on one side of the vertebrae and a fixated side, compressing this joint is actually going to kind of relieve the pain. It's going to kind of give this idea that this is more stabilized. You'll see this in orthopedic tests like foraminal compression. If there is a sprain, strain injury there, that might actually feel better. But in the long run, it's not, because we're harming the disc and we're creating this short, tightened, restricted on both sides of the joint. We always tend to blame the fixated side, but we never address the side that's weak. And why is it weak? It has a lot more to do with the muscles than we give the muscles credit for. So improper functional movement patterns leads to atrophy of the muscles, an imbalance of the muscles, and that leads to compression of the spine. And it in turn leads to arthritis, and then we got neurological compromise. This is where a lot of people are. They have a lot of these issues going on, and they just don't equate it to back to their posture. That's understanding that first. And then the biggest problem I see is people address this idea that they have improper functional movement patterns by compression. And the most common form of compression I see is actually extension of the spine. So what they're doing here is they're taking their spine and they're either throwing their hips back and they're just compressing all these joints, kind of flattening out the upper region here, but not actually opening up any of the joints or using the stabilizing muscles that are designed to lengthen and decompress the spine, get the stress off the joints. A common thing we see is forward pelvic sway. The pelvis is going forward and the pressure is put into the sacroiliac joint right there, instead of being resting over the femur head where it should be. It's designed to have a lot of your movement, and it's also designed to take your weight. This is not. Lots of nerves here. This is very important structure, and it takes way too much. It's forced into movement. It's forced to have mobility that it shouldn't have. The lower boot is actually a very fibrous joint. I mean, this allows movement. Why? To save the nerves. It does that so it doesn't put mechanical traction on the nerves, and that's the same idea we have with every joint in the spine. It's all about preventing neurological stress. Most of us are living in this chronic state of neurological stress due to a misunderstanding of what good posture is. So don't think, okay, I just have to have better posture and be more vigilant about it, because most people who are more vigilant about it actually are creating more compression. So you have to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate what you're doing wrong. It's insanity to keep doing something that makes you worse. So if you went through the day and you feel worse, you did something wrong. Your approach is wrong. You're not thinking about it correctly. A lot of people are just working harder and harder and going to the gym more and more, and their posture is getting worse. And then same thing I'd say everyone, your spine does not lie. I'm not being mean to you. I'm just telling you what I see in your spine. And a lot of times when I have this conversation with people, they continue to get worse and worse because they're not actually taking the time to understand the issue. They're taking their idea of posture and applying it at a higher level. And their idea of posture is wrong. Their idea of good posture is extension, it's forward pelvic sway. It is compression of the joints, and that is just going to lead to more injury and more neurological compromise, and you're going to get more symptoms. It's not back pain and spine pain that is going to be the main thing here. It's going to be other things. Stress all over. It could be your digestion tract, all of that kind of stuff. Because everything relates. That's the whole point. That's the message of chiropractic, is getting that neurological stress off. But if it's full compression throughout the entire spine, that is a posterior chain atrophy, lack of use, or an inhibition in a lot of ways, because we've created certain dominances in our shoulders and our hips that are just not allowing the spine to be used. But most of all, it starts in your mind. We gotta fix that first. So most of these videos are trying to convince you that posture is important. It's not about how you look, it's about removing neurological stress. But just don't jump on that train and ride it, because you need to understand what I'm trying to teach you. People just hear, oh, stand straight, but what I see in my classes is people actually compressing their spines. They're shrinking. If you're ever shrinking, you're doing something wrong. It should be uncomfortable to lengthen. You should feel unbalanced. Things should be harder. Even things like just walking will become tougher. Or if you're in the hypervigilant compression state, you're going to feel a little more steady because it's comfortable for you. Everything is shortened and locked down, but this obviously is damaging over time. That's why you're in pain. If you're in pain, I mean, that's why you're here. That's why you're watching this video, to get out of pain. So obviously what you're doing is not right. So you need to go back and rethink it. And then it's going back to these videos, going to foundationtraining.com and trying to understand before you dive headfirst into this stuff. You have to get the basics down. Make sense?